tension, that there are more areas of friction and difference than there are of commonality at this stage, John.
Let's just talk about what we're seeing on the screen right now. We had just seen the first family of, here we go, Ivanka and Jared Kushner. And is that Tiffany?
No, I'm not quite sure who that is, to be honest. But that's a sight that the president will no doubt relish, because he had indicated he wanted a next generation meeting between his children and some of the heirs to the British throne. Max was reporting before that will not happen. At this point, Max, we don't expect any next generation meeting. On the other balcony, I should note, I did recognize the U.S. Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin taking photos with his phone. There he is. Or maybe they're selfies.
Yeah, also
from the balcony.
Woody Johnson as well there.
Okay, the U.S.
who's
ambassador.
Very close to the president, I'm told, as well.
So no next generation meeting, Max?
So this is interesting. Well, it's been made very clear to me that's not happening, certainly not in a formal sense. What you will see, I have been pointed out that, you will see Harry and William that came into this sort of suggestion at different events, but as part of other guests. So after this ceremonial welcome, Harry will be at this private lunch within the palace. Clearly, Ivanka and Jared are there as well. And then Prince William will be at tonight's state banquet. So you can see the guard there lining up, and President Trump will be asked and invited along to sort of inspect the guard. We'll see how he copes with that this time. Didn't go particularly well last time. Before that, we'll hear the national anthems of the United States and also the United Kingdom as well. In the past, President Obama has spoken through the British national anthem, which was another faux pas. Literally, these events, even for British people, are littered with traps, social traps, because there's so much etiquette involved. It's a very simple way of looking at it, really, that the Queen takes precedence. She walks first. She starts the conversation. She holds her hand out if you want to shake hands. But actually, President Trump isn't committed to following any of these etiquette rules. He's not a British subject. And actually, on this event, he is on a par with the Queen. They're both heads of state, and this is a joint event as far as the British establishment is concerned.
And Clarissa, of course, we know that President Trump often doesn't follow with convention or orthodoxy or history, and that's part of what makes this interesting, so interesting to watch. We expect them to come out of these double doors momentarily to watch this ceremony, and then in about 45 minutes they'll be having a private lunch with some of the royal family. And Clarissa, as we wait to watch them come out, this is awkward for a few reasons. I mean, because of all the turmoil, obviously, in British politics, but also because this weekend, President Trump insulted Duchess Meghan Markle. And now at lunch, he will have to sit with Prince Harry. And that will possibly be uncomfortable, though Max reported that Prince Harry will probably be a dutiful grandson and not bring it up. But still, it's just sort of, if we could be a fly on the wall, what the feeling would be like at this lunch.
It certainly would be fascinating to be a fly on the wall, Allison. And you're right, it is awkward. But at the same time, here in the UK, there's a palpable sense of outrage fatigue. People here no longer expect anything other than the sort of behavior and tweets and flouting of traditional protocol that we've seen over the past few days. They've heard already President Trump say that Theresa May is not doing a good job of negotiating Brexit. They've heard him say that he favors Boris Johnson to be the next prime minister. They've now heard him say that he didn't know that Meghan Markle could be so nasty. Nothing really at this stage surprises people here anymore. And I think, coming back to what Max was saying, in that royal lunch, you will not hear a word said about these issues. There will not be an awkward moment. There will be the sort of polite patter of polite conversation. There will not be any meaningful, in-depth exchange of views. This is all about smoothing things over, about lightness, about formality, and about really showing the president what the United Kingdom is capable of in terms of pomp and circumstance and pageantry, and making him feel honored and making him feel adulated, which, as we know, appeals to President Trump. And as a result, I think we can expect to see him, at least throughout the course of today, where the events are really centered on Buckingham Palace, really behaving deferentially, politely, and even reverentially. We know that he takes these institutions and pomp and circumstance quite seriously. So I wouldn't anticipate at this stage any major obstacles or stumbling points during that lunch, though, of course, it is still early to say. And as we know with the president, anything can happen, Allison.
And you're looking right there again at Jared Kushner and Ivanka Trump. There's the U.S. ambassador right there in the sunglasses, Woody Johnson, the U.S. ambassador to Great Britain, Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin. And then next to Steve Mnuchin is White House advisor Stephen Miller. And I saw John Bolton, Abby, in the background before, and they're enjoying this, as they should. These are the fun trips for White House staffers and U.S. officials compared to some of the more difficult foreign trips. So getting a moment like this at the palace, I know, will be a highlight for all the U.S. officials there.
Exactly. And you can see that the president's family decided to come along for this trip, not just Ivanka and Jared, that almost all of his adult children are going to be here as well, because it's kind of one of those once-in-a-lifetime moments. When the president met the Pope, it was a similar kind of group of senior aides all sort of reveling in this moment that they may not have again, perhaps ever, or at least perhaps for a long time. And I think also we shouldn't discount how much this puts the president in a good mood. And that can make a huge difference between a president who is constantly lashing out on a trip like this and one who is in a more jovial mood. He just came off of another similar sort of state visit in Japan where the red carpet was rolled out for him. It can be easier for his staff when he is being treated with this kind of respect and adulation, because it puts him in a better frame of mind. Now, that being said, he's already started the trip by picking a few fights, but I think that now that we are really fully in the ceremonial part of this, I think a lot of his aides will be hoping that that's what he begins to be focused on, and not all of these other side disputes he's been having with the London mayor or arguing about what's on his television. They're hoping that he'll just focus on this part of the trip, which is just about kind of experiencing a historical moment that very few of them will ever have again in their lives.
Max, we're watching these double doors closely. That's where the president and first lady and the queen, I suppose, are about to come through. In fact, we see one of the guards reaching for the handle there. So tell us what we're going to see of this ceremonial moment when this happens.
They'll come out, and these are the Grenadier Guards, very well-regarded battalion.
The doors are opening.
Based here in the UK. Currently, actually, so you'll see them come out, and there'll be the national anthems played, and then President Trump will be invited to inspect the guard there. So this is a very formal moment. It's celebrating the ties between the two countries. And it's particularly about military ties, this visit, showing that joint security and joint military is a way ahead, something we can all agree on, away from all of the horrible